I was helping my parents renovate their house. Needed a tool, so I stepped into the garage. Nothing unusual. But then I heard my dad's voice. I still can't believe how useless he is. We need to cut him out of the will before he drains us dry, and my mom.com, as ever, said, already working on it. My lawyer says we can even take back the business loan. I just picked up the tools and went back to work with a perfect smile. 3 days later, my phone lit up 47 messages, all desperate, all from them. Hey, thanks for being here. I hope your day's going great, wherever you're tuning in from. Drop a comment. What city or country are you watching from, and what time is it right now? Alright, let's dive into the story. Honestly, I never thought I'd be pouring my soul out to a bunch of strangers online at 3 o'clock in the morning, whiskey in hand. I'm Michael. I'm 34. Built a construction business from scratch. Started with an old beat-up Ford F-150 and a cheap toolbox. Now I've got 3 crews running jobs across the county. My hands calloused and scarred are my resume. It's not Wall Street, but it's honest. Pays the bills. And more than that, it's mine. That last part mine ever sat right with my parents, Richard and Eleanor, polished, upper middle class, country club types. Their world was neat, perfect. They wanted me to go to college, wear a suit, become someone. My hands, they were my rebellion. Every time they introduced me, it was with a sigh. This is our son Michael. He's in construction. Like I was selling drugs or something, not remodeling kitchens or building decks that made families happy. My mom always had that tight little smile and a nervous hand twitching up to her pearl necklace. My dad had this way of waving me off like I was a telemarketer, and that throat clear, the one that made me feel 2 inches tall. I spent my life chasing their approval. Got decent grades, tried talking golf with dad even though I couldn't care less, sat through fundraisers with mom where people talked about choosing caterers like it was brain surgery. Even took money from them once right after college to get my business off the ground. They called it a loan. I called it faith. We never signed anything, no terms. It felt like a gesture of support, a chance for them to feel part of something, in case I didn't fail. But I wanted it to mean something. It didn't. I just wanted to hear them say, "We're proud of you, Michael." That sentence was everything. Over the years, things settled into this weird, polite distance. Holiday dinners, short calls. My sister Catherine, 4 years older, was the golden child. MBA, big job, perfect husband. She fit their mold. Our relationship, cordial, distant, nothing in common but childhood memories that now felt ... different. We revolved around our parents like planets stuck in a cold orbit. Then came the renovation. They wanted a sunroom added to the back of their already massive house. Dad called me. Actually sounded unsure. "Michael, would you consider overseeing the structure and framing? We'd pay your usual rate." It was the closest they'd come to acknowledging I had real skills, and yeah, it lit something in me. Hope, maybe. I gave them a steep discount family rate, I said, trying to hide how badly I wanted this to mean something. So I got to work, designed plans, coordinated with the architect, started the demo. It felt surreal being back in that house. Every family photo, every antique piece of furniture, it was like walking through someone else's life. Their house smelled like money and polished wood. I smelled like sweat and sawdust. But something felt off. It wasn't just their usual, uptight energy. This was heavier, like something unspoken was crawling through the walls. They were whispering, glancing at their phones, taking calls in hushed tones. "Oh, Michael, we were just talking about the weather." Mom would chirp with a too-wide smile, hand on those pearls. Dad would just clear his throat. That sound still made my gut twist. I figured maybe it was financial stress. Maybe they were embarrassed to admit the renovation cost more than expected. So I didn't pry. I just kept working, kept building, hoping each beam, each nail might finally bridge the gap between us. But it was draining. The house started to feel less like home and more like enemy territory. Every floorboard creaked with judgment. Every framed diploma on the wall felt like a mirror to what I wasn't. Thursday afternoon, I was deep in framing, but needed a saw attachment from the garage. Wiped the sweat off my forehead, headed to the side door. The garage wasn't just storage, it was a time capsule. Smelled like gasoline, fertilizer, old paper. As I reached for the handle, I heard them inside talking about me. I froze. My heart didn't just race, it tried to rip through my chest. Their voices were clear. "I still can't believe how useless he is," Dad said, cold, sharp. "We need to cut him out of the will before he drains us dry." Drains them dry. Useless. After all the work, the discount, the years of trying. Then Mom chimed in, like she was reading a grocery list. "Already working on it. My lawyer says we can even take back the business loan." That loan, the one I thought meant something. They were turning it into a weapon, a way to claw back whatever they could, as if I was some parasite. That betrayal, it was physical, like getting punched in the gut. I couldn't breathe. Every insult I ignored, every jab I absorbed, it all exploded into that moment. This was who they really were, my parents, and somehow, I stood up straight. The pain was real, but something colder, harder started to take over. A part of me I didn't even know I had. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction. "Got it, here's your script." Rephrased exactly as you requested, with the same flow, length, and natural US storytelling tone. No headings, no shortening, just clean Reddit-style narration. Satisfaction of knowing I'd heard. Not yet. I opened the garage door, the old springs creaking loud enough to cover the sound of my unsteady breath. I stepped inside, eyes scanning for the saw attachment, keeping my face locked in a calm, unreadable expression. My parents were standing near the back, both looking like kids caught sneaking cookies, except this cookie jar held my future. "Oh, Michael, just looking for some old photos," Mom blurted, her hand jumping straight to those pearls like it always did when she was nervous. "Yeah, clearing out some stuff," Dad added, avoiding my eyes and giving that weak, dismissive throat clear. "Found it," I said, flatly, the words sounding distant even to me. I spotted the attachment, grabbed it, turned on my heel. All right, back to work. And just like that, I walked out of the garage, but I left a piece of myself behind, the hopeful son, the one who still chased their approval. Back at the sunroom frame, I slipped the attachment onto the saw. My hands trembled, not from the labor, but from everything boiling just beneath the surface. Rage, pain, betrayal. I forced myself to focus, measure, cut, nail. Each swing of the hammer wasn't just construction, it was a burial. I wasn't building a sunroom. I was burying the old Michael. When they came to check on the progress, I had a flawless smile ready. They asked about materials, timelines, like nothing was wrong. Every word felt like it might shatter the moment it left my mouth, but the smile held, barely, pretending everything was fine, drained more out of me than the work ever could. Even the smell of fresh-cut wood, something that used to comfort me, now felt rotten. I finished for the day, packed up my tools, and headed home. The second my front door closed behind me, the mask cracked. I collapsed onto the floor, still covered in sawdust and dirt, and let it all hit me. The agony, the fury. I cried. I screamed. I punched my couch until my knuckles throbbed. 34 years. 34 years of trying. And this was it. A drain. Useless. Something to be cut off before I bled them dry. But underneath all that heartbreak, something colder was forming. Resolve. They made their move. Lawyers. Strategy. This wasn't just a family squabble. This was a hostile takeover of my life, my legacy. That so-called business loan. It wasn't a loan. It was seed money offered when I had nothing as a way to help me build. At least, that's what I believed. Now, I saw it for what it really was. Leverage. But I wasn't about to let them use it. Years in construction taught me one thing. Weak foundations collapse, and theirs. Rotten to the core. Mine, solid. I built it myself. My company, my work, my name, and I was going to protect it. I opened my laptop and started digging receipts, bank logs. I remembered vaguely signing something back then, but it wasn't formal, nothing binding, just something to appease them. I reached out to Mark, a buddy from high school turned real estate lawyer. I was hesitant, didn't want to drag someone into my mess, but I needed clarity. I laid it all out. The garage conversation, the will, the so-called loan. Mark listened quietly, his voice steady. "Damn, man. I'm sorry you're going through this," he said. And that empathy, it hit hard. Reminded me how used to this dysfunction I'd become. He didn't sugarcoat it, said, without a signed agreement and clear terms, especially this many years later, it was almost impossible for them to claim anything. "Sounds like a gift," he said. "They're just trying to rename it now for control." That hit me like a support beam slamming into place. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't useless. Then I told him about the renovation, the work, the materials, how I hadn't billed them yet because, well, family. He didn't hesitate. You're a contractor, right? If there's an agreement to be paid or even an implied one, you can file a mechanic's lien on the property. It's a legal hold, stops them from selling, refinancing, or moving forward until they resolve it. That's when I realized I had leverage too. Real, legal, justified leverage, not revenge, not spite, just defense. A way to draw a line and say, no more. The next day, I gathered every receipt, drafted a formal invoice, and logged my hours, discount or not. While sorting through old files, I stumbled across something. An old cloud folder from when I helped them set up their computer years ago. Inside, a draft labeled Michael Loan Terms. It wasn't signed by me, but it laid everything out: insane interest, a demand clause, and worst of all, a handwritten note in my mom's cursive. Ensure this is legally sound, to protect assets, leverage inheritance discussions. I stared at that sentence for a long time. That was the moment everything crystallized. This wasn't coldness. It was calculation, legal manipulation disguised as parental concern. And I had proof. Mark introduced me to a property lawyer. We reviewed everything. The plan was clear. File the lien, formally contest the loan based on lack of documentation and bad faith. No emotional calls. No more pleading, just law. It felt surreal, like suiting up for battle against the very people who once read me bedtime stories. But they drew the first sword. I was just defending myself. By Monday morning, less than 72 hours since I heard them, I filed the mechanic's lien, paperwork done, claim official, game on. My day went on, managed my crews, approved invoices, looked like any other Monday, but inside, I was ready for the storm. It didn't take long. Around lunch, the messages started. First, Mom, Michael, call me immediately. There's an issue with the house. Then Dad, what is this legal nonsense? Call us now. And then, like a dam breaking, dozens more. My phone buzzed, non-stop. I watched the messages stack up on my lock screen. Confusion, panic, rage, desperation. What is this lien? Why is the county calling us? Our permits are frozen. How could you do this? You're sabotaging us. Your father is furious. I didn't respond. I just watched. Here is your full rephrased script in the exact same flow, tone, and structure as you requested. No headings, no shortening, just raw, natural US-style storytelling, faithful to your original. Panic. The builders left. We can't continue the work. We're losing money every single day. Gaslighting followed fast. This is a misunderstanding. Just call us and we'll explain. You're overreacting, Michael. Don't do anything rash. You're hurting your mother. Think about the family reputation. Then came the pleading. Please just call us. We can fix this. Don't do this to your own family. We love you, son. Let's talk like family. We love you, son. Those words tasted like ash. Just days before, they were plotting to cut me out. Now they were begging. And the speed, the sheer volume of their reaction, it was stunning. I had hit them exactly where they were weakest. Their money and their image. The halted construction screamed that something was wrong. A sunroom, frozen mid-build, right out there for the neighbors to see. Their perfect front was cracking, and for once, everyone could see it. It wasn't about payback. It was about truth. Their desperation confirmed everything. They had intended to cut me out, and now, finally, they were facing the fallout. They thought I was just a contractor, just in construction. But that useless trade of mine, it froze their assets, locked their project, and shattered their illusion of control. Then Catherine messaged. Her first text seemed harmless. Hey Mike, what's going on with Mom and Dad? They seem really upset about the house. For a split second, I let hope in. Maybe she didn't know. Maybe she'd be different. Maybe she'd listen. But a few minutes later, they said something about a lien. Is that true? They're saying you're trying to cause trouble. You should just talk to them and sort it out. Don't listen to outside advice. This is family. We handle things internally. Don't listen to outside advice. We handle things internally. That phrase, it was like a recycled line straight from my parents' playbook. Classic isolation, control, twist the narrative, and the speed with which she absorbed their version of events, telling she wasn't neutral, she wasn't clueless. She was just another mouthpiece for their agenda. It stung more than I expected. Different from my parents' cold scheming, Catherine's betrayal felt like the last thread snapping. The sister I once hoped would see me clearly, she saw only what they told her to. And where she passed their words along, applying that same subtle pressure, so I didn't respond. Not to her, not to them. That evening, I sat in my quiet apartment, no phone buzzing, no voices accusing or pleading, just silence, peaceful. And yeah, the pain was there, but so was clarity. They'd shown me exactly who they were, and in doing so, they'd freed me from pretending anymore. The next few weeks were tense, legal back and forth. My lawyer stayed firm. Their side flailed. They tried to frame me as the aggressive one, the bitter, entitled son, trying to destroy his kind-hearted parents. But the loan draft we'd found, it was damning. It wasn't just about money. It showed their intent to manipulate and control, clear, calculated, and documented. My lawyer shut down their threats. We kept it focused, clean, professional. I got compensated fairly for the work I'd done, the labor, the materials, the value I added to their home before everything stopped. And as for the loan, we reached a legal resolution. No interest, no fees. I didn't take a dime more than the principal I'd used all those years ago to get my business off the ground. I could have gone for more. They offered a settlement, tried to dangle it like a lifeline. I refused. This wasn't about profit, it was about principle. The relationship shattered. No heartfelt apologies. No reckoning, just cold formalities passed through lawyers with that same undercurrent of blame. As if I had done this to them. That throat clear, the way her fingers touched her pearls. I could see it all in my mind every time their names came up. Like ghosts. Of the dynamic I finally escaped. Catherine never messaged again. Word got around through extended family that she'd told people I took advantage of my parents, that I'd always been difficult. The facade held for outsiders, but the inside was gone, crumbled, and yeah, it hurt. Not because I wanted money or praise, but because, deep down, a part of me still hoped for a family that saw me, valued me, accepted me. There's a special kind of grief that comes from mourning people who are still alive. People who could choose to love you but don't. For a while, I felt hollow, that ache where hope used to live. But slowly, over time, that emptiness filled with something else. Peace, self-respect, the ability to breathe without constantly translating my life into a language they might approve of. I looked at my hands one morning, those same hands they once dismissed. Scarred, rough, but capable. These hands built something from nothing. These hands signed documents that protected what I'd built. These hands created a future rooted in truth. So I poured myself into my business, into the friends who stood by me, into chosen family, the kind that celebrates your wins, checks on you when you're quiet, and doesn't guilt you into playing a role. My apartment became more than a place to sleep. It became a sanctuary, a space filled with realness, with comfort. With me, there's no simple lesson here, no feel-good fable, just truth, hard-earned and raw. I learned that protecting your peace is not selfish. It's necessary. That boundaries, even with the people who raised you, aren't acts of war, they're acts of survival. That sometimes, family isn't about who shares your blood, it's about who shows up, who respects you, who lets you exist without shaping you into their image. And I learned this, the truth, even the ugliest, most gut-wrenching truth, has a power manipulation never will. It cuts through the noise, and it sets you free. That day in the garage, that was the end of the story I'd spent my whole life trapped in, but it was the beginning of the one I'm telling now, the one where I stopped being the son begging to be seen, and started being the man building something real. The scars remain. Some you can see, most you can't, but they're mine. Proof of everything I survived, everything I built, and the freedom I fought for. I earned it, every damn inch of it. Maybe some of you watching this know what it feels like to be overlooked, unappreciated, treated like an outsider in your own family. Maybe you've had to make brutal choices just to protect your soul. If that's you, let me say this, you're not alone, and your worth, it's not up for debate. You can build your own future, on your terms, on solid ground. What does family mean to you? Have you ever had to fight to be seen, to be valued? I'd love to hear your story. Share it below.